Welcome to Business Ninjas, brought to you by WriteForMe, where you'll hear from business leaders who are out there growing their business and slaying it every day. Learn from the masters. Let's get started.
Hey everybody, this is Max Pittman from WriteForMe, and you're listening to another episode of the Business Ninjas podcast. And today we meet a voice AI expert who's been building next generation AI voice assistants for the past 7 years. And today we're talking about SapientX with Mr. David Colleen, who is the founder and CEO at SapientX. David, thank you so much for joining us today.
Hi, Max. Thanks a lot for having me today. And I'm glad all of you are making time to tune in today to talk about the conversational AI things that we've been up to. Where would you like to begin today, Max?
Yeah, well, as you mentioned, you guys are in the conversational AI space, and the company's been around since 2016. So it's not like you guys just came out of the woodworks, last year when ChatGPT kind of came through in OpenAI. So I'm excited to dive in, like what's been going on at SapientX for the past 7 years. Before we dive into the organization, David, our community is built of entrepreneurs and executives like yourself, but also sales and marketing leaders. And as the founder and CEO at SapientX, I'd love it if you can kind of tell our community a little bit about yourself and some of the things you're focused on today.
Well, I think my life is one of changing opportunities. I got out of college with my architecture degree and proceeded to San Francisco to build high-rise buildings. And I did that, but I was always fascinated by using computers to design buildings with. That led my early team to put the first 3D online back in 1995. That was Planet 9 Studios, and that had us building everything from talking characters to virtual places. In 2003, the government asked us to join a research project of AI companies. And part of that work was to create talking characters that could represent historical figures. And that was the beginning of our talking AI work. And it really was primitive way back then. But the idea that you could talk to a synthetic character and have a compelling discussion with them was really captivating for us. A few years later, in 2008, we were building navigation systems for the automotive industry. And we brought my old friend Bruce Wilcox onto the team. He's an AI scientist. He had been at a number of large game companies like 3DO. And Bruce built from the ground up a conversational AI system that was radically different than anything that was happening at the time. Everything else was command-based. Users would have to learn commands, and they were very limited and couldn't really converse with you. But Bruce's vision was that you should be able to talk to computers like we're talking now, like we're talking to our best friends. And that was a radical notion. And in order to do that, we built a system that analyzed people speaking naturally, kind of the way your seventh grade English teacher taught you to do, by breaking things into nouns and verbs and adjectives and all that. And fast forwarding to today, we're the only ones that take that approach, and allows us to understand people better, up to 99% accuracy. It allows us to speak languages better. We speak 40 different languages with our software, and we're running it in a number of different places. We started with our friends in the automotive community, but a few years ago, we added Alex Hessler to our team. Alex was at Pixar. He had been working on movies like Harry Potter and actually the Avatar movie. And when he joined us, the goal was to not just have good conversational abilities with our software, but to add talking characters that looked very realistic, like movie grade animation. And that was a huge challenge to bring that to things like mobile phones. But we've been able to do that. We have a lot of wonderful partners that we work with to achieve this. But today, we're running talking characters that run on my cell phone, as well as I have some news. We're running on 8K displays now. That means that we can run on large displays putting characters out there at life size. You might want them to greet you at Walmart or say hi to you as you enter Lowe's and offer to help you find things within the store. We're also able to put things on enormous screens. So that's an exciting place to be, especially in a world where we're having staffing shortages, and people for the first time are very interested in adding digital employees to their businesses to help with staffing shortages. So it's an exciting time for us.
Wow. Yes. I have so many questions. This is incredibly interesting, and to hear kind of the team that you've built at SapientX as well, and their own backgrounds is in bringing their expertise from animation, from Disney, Pixar. Like my mind immediately goes to the Hall of Presidents, kind of, and like how the robotics and basic nature of those that they're doing at Disney. Like that's what my mind goes to. But obviously, there's you guys are in a completely different realm where you can actually have conversations. And my mind also goes to like holograms. It's kind of what I'm hearing potentially is maybe a few things you're working on. But this is I have lots of questions. Like so, you mentioned a couple of things of that kind of stood out to me. First of which is you were talking about kind of like the service-based industry and like digital assistants. Like tell me, I guess, a little bit more about that and how are you exploring that space?
Well, so in digital signage, and that means everything from bus kiosks to kiosks for food ordering at a restaurant, to we just put a character down in San Diego at a museum to act as a docent within the museum. We're finding a lot of different places where companies need extra help in terms of a digital employee. I spent this past week in Chicago at the restaurant show. They're, for the first time as an industry, very interested in adding digital employees because of one simple, shocking statistic. 78% of all US restaurants can't find enough people to do the jobs needed to run the restaurant. Now, we're not talking about taking over the manager's job or any of the high level stuff, but things like greeting people as they come to the restaurant, being able to take orders at the drive-through or be in a kiosk at the front desk to place your order, to get people through the ordering process more quickly, or to solve staffing problems, makes a lot of sense. We can be in the cooking line working on timing of food orders to increase the efficiency of the restaurant. There's a lot of different places where we can actually do a great job. I know when I pull into my local Burger King, I always ask them to leave the onions off of my hamburger, and that only happens about 50% of the time. With our system, we can get that right every single time.
I know how that goes. For me, it's Taco Bell, leave off the sour cream. Wow. It makes a lot of sense, right? How AI can potentially help in solving a lot of the problems in the service industry. How are you guys working within automotive, though? I heard you mention earlier, working with, I think it's maybe GPS systems, navigation systems. How are you guys working within that industry?
Well, it started with just that one use case, giving voice guidance to navigation. But what happened with us in the automotive industry, working early on with companies like BMW, later with Visteon and Morelli and Denso, big auto parts suppliers, and then manufacturers like Mitsubishi and Volvo, we found that they wanted voice assistants to do a lot more than just aid with navigation or turn the music on. They wanted a character, an AI system that could control everything that was user controllable in the cars. So that ended up with us delivering in 17 different use cases, including simple things like moving the seat back and forth, making the windows go up and down, turning the lights on and off. It was a trusted system because we had to go deep within the insides of the cars in order to control those things. We also found that the auto industry was really, really afraid of letting big tech giants like Google and Amazon to have access to those deeper systems because they didn't want to be dependent on the whims of a tech giant to guide the future of their car. And they also didn't want the branding of another company in there. So we made a lot of sense to be in a car because it was all about the car itself, not about us. It was novel putting talking characters into cars, and we're hoping soon your family car will have a character that you can interact with. By the way, I want to mention something. Pardon me. Because our system is conversational, we found that when people realize that you can just chit chat with a character, that people start treating the character as if it was a friend. And roughly 60% of all voice interaction is just purely conversational. Hey, how's it going today? What do you think the weather's going to be like tomorrow? That sort of thing serves apparently a basic human need that all of us have beyond the purely functional of turning lights on and off.
Yeah, it sounds well. That to me, it sounds like it's more human centric and a little bit more grown up, I guess, right?
It seems to be a need that all of us have. Plus, one of the areas that we're being pressed into is autonomous driving. And one of the biggest problems with autonomous driving is getting people to trust it. Well, some of the studies have shown that when you have a good character face and a voice, that it improves trust in a voice system by as much as 20%. So that's pretty significant. And this is an important thing that people trust us, and also trust us not to sell their data. We're one of the very few solutions out there that doesn't sell people's data to other companies, and that's an important part of the trust circle.
Mm-hmm. Would you say, I guess, that's a little bit of SapientX's like secret sauce, right? And why potential customer would choose you over I don't know who else is in the voice assistance world, but like, is it that trust? Is it the characterization? Is it, yeah, I'm just kind of curious to understand what would separate you, from others in the space?
Well, it's absolutely important in the auto industry, but we're finding that the same values and needs for trust happen in other industries, such as we're developing characters for health use. And in those settings, you're handling sensitive patient data, and people have to be able to trust that you're doing the right thing with their patient data and not abusing that. Interestingly, there was another study that showed that people trust voice assistants with their medical data more than they trust their own family doctor. And it's a little surprising, but they did a second study to figure out why that was, and it was because the AI systems perform no judgment. I know when I go into the doctor, I'm always getting on the scales first thing, and I know the doctor's kind of rolling his eyes saying, "You're not doing very well with your diet, David." And there's a form of judgment there that none of us really like to go through that just doesn't happen with the AI characters.
For sure. And how much are you drinking during the week? And would you say?
Yeah, that's another topic altogether.
Right? Yeah, we want to avoid that judgment for sure. And if interacting with an AI, it's pretty clear and direct that it's not going to have hopefully that judgment, right?
I was going to say there's another health-related project that we began with Yamaha for senior care, and I'm really excited about that as a direction. Now, Yamaha decided not to pursue it, but we developed a talking kitty cat that was geared towards being a companion for seniors. Her name's Hazel, and Hazel was there partly for loneliness, partly to operate smart home devices for the senior, to look after basic things like, did you take your medication today? But also to perform standard industry cognitive assessments of the seniors over time. Not that we want to fill the doctor's role and perform diagnosis, but we can sense changes over time. And if we see an important change, we can alert the health team to take a closer look. And I think that's a really important function for the seniors community.
Yeah, it seems like AI can really play a significant role in that space. It can play a significant role in even maybe like fall detection. I mean, that's a big piece of what I worry about when I think about like my grandma. Maybe it's like I've heard some companies creating like AI powered systems and motion sensors can, detect falls in living spaces and, automatically alert caregivers, right? What about like, what other types of use cases are there other than, yeah, in the senior living or healthcare world that you guys are thinking about?
Well, because Yamaha made carts, they also wanted us to be in the golf cart.
Oh,
So yes, we can do that, and we can tell you, no, don't use that 9 iron. I think you need a pitching wedge as you're approaching the green there. We can do really important things like that as well.
that would be, yes. Now you're talking. You're up my alley. If it can help me with wind, if it can help me with slope of the green, if it could help me with club choice and and how much power I should be putting behind it, and maybe even looking at how much moisture is in the air. Now we're talking my language.
Okay.
So yeah, there's so many different applications, obviously, that are out there. So it's interesting to see how you are applying it to, your AI to a lot of different industries. I'm curious to like what type of relevance in does ChatGPT have in your world? Just kind of curious.
Well, there's a couple of factors. We integrated ChatGPT into our system roughly a year ago. It's pretty exciting. It's one of the best extemporaneous voice assistants that can just talk freeform.
Mm.
It also has a problem. It's a consummate bullshitter. It's really good at making stuff up and sounding believable, and that's actually one of the biggest business drawbacks to it. Is we do offer it to our customers, but nobody takes us up on it because the risk of spreading false information or saying insulting things. I've had it say racist things to me. We just can't do that. So where we are using it successfully is our main system is very good at answering questions, giving directions, performing basic tasks. For questions that people ask that we haven't prepared for, we can send those over to a system like ChatGPT and give acceptable answers. We've written a lot of filtration to ChatGPT to keep it from going into the rough, going back into golf metaphors here. But just by itself, we're not finding it all that useful. That said, because it's in the press so much, it's making people aware that conversational AI is here and it's useful, and that real people, real companies are using it to perform real tasks today, and it's going to help our industry to grow rapidly. So that's a good thing.
Last kind of thing here. I'm just kind of curious, because this is your world, not mine, and my world's really built around like sales development and growing and scaling teams, and like the metrics that are associated with a successful outbound campaign to develop high quality opportunities is pretty straightforward, right? What are the metrics for SapientX that you guys look at? Is it like adoption rate? I'm just kind of curious.
So the KPIs that we get measured against are different in different industries. So one of the things that our automotive customers wanted to measure was how happy are people with their voice assistant experience. So we have an AI component in our system that measures that and can report on that. We have one prototype that we built for PepsiCo. They wanted a voice assistant to help blend custom drinks for you in their vending machines. Now, besides that being kind of cool, yeah, I'd like a little cherry Coke with my vanilla Coke or whatever. Oh, sorry, it was Pepsi. Cancel that. They also wanted to study flavor trends so that they could perceive emerging flavor preferences in various regions of the U.S. And our system can not only detect that, but also do predictive analysis of what's going to be popular in the coming months in terms of flavor preferences. So we love different challenges and different metrics that are used in the industries we work in, and they're always keeping us guessing.
Yep, gotcha. I can see how, yeah, some of the metrics and KPIs obviously would be very different, in the automotive space versus, for CPG brands. What about like in the quick service restaurant space? How are you guys thinking about metrics there? Is it timeliness? Is it accuracy? Kind of all of the above?
Well, so we have some basic economic metrics. Of course, we have to deliver assistants that make economic sense to perform any task less expensively than a human person would be, even at minimum wage, and we do that all the time. But imagine you're pulling up to a drive-through, and I know some of the successful restaurants, the backup may be 20 cars long, and you've got quite a wait. And I see all the time people seeing that long line and driving on to the next restaurant because they decide the line's too long. Well, the current systems, of course, you have one microphone and one speaker talking to one person in the store taking your order. Well, we can have 5 or 6 AI assistants talking to 5 or 6 cars simultaneously, increasing the rate of orders coming to the grill. And other parts of our AI could be organizing people on a predictive basis to, for instance, I see a long line of cars. Let's put down 20 hamburgers because we know there's going to be 20 requests for those hamburgers in the next 5 minutes. So all of this adds up to, I think, faster food delivery, making people happier. Faster throughput, making the restaurant happier because they're getting to a higher level of efficiency and throughput in their restaurant. These are all important business factors.
Yeah, appreciate you kind of diving into some of those use cases for those industries as well. Like, I think kind of going broader and zooming out here from like a business perspective, David, like I'd love to just understand from you, as you are in this ever evolving world that AI is, and you guys have like this amazing team that you've developed. What are some of the bigger challenges or opportunities, I guess, for you as a business, and how are you guys positioned to like go after those challenges?
Well, so our marketing challenge right now is that a lot of people are not even aware that products that we make exist. So we're trying to put characters out doing important tasks in public venues to build that awareness. Other challenges we have are just the sort of ABC fundamental challenges of any startup. That is initially finding their customer base, but then successfully scaling the business to do a good job of servicing customer needs as we grow. So imagine we're primarily based here in California, but we're putting talking characters all across the country, including in international locations. Being able to service those and make sure all the hardware stays running is a huge task for us, and one that we're designed to handle the growth for, but it's still a lot of work.
I'd love to see some characters, to be honest, in like stadiums, ballparks, arenas, help guiding people, answering questions versus going to like that map or, to that person. These companies, I feel like the Cowboys have like all the money in the world to think about doing something like this. Have you guys explored that space at all?
Well, we actually have a cowgirl character for the Edmonton airport that's in prototype, and she'll tell you which gate to go to, where to find your lost baggage, where the best French Canadian food is at the airport. By the way, she speaks multiple languages, and if she senses that you're speaking Mandarin, she'll say, "Would you like me to switch over to Mandarin?" And I think characters like that are wonderful. When I go to airports today, I see the empty help booth. They're no longer staffed. So we can easily replace those sorts of existing systems with digital versions that work wonderfully. And she'll even tell you the hockey scores.
Yeah. I don't know if you want to hear those sometimes if you're in Edmonton. So depends on the day or season, I guess. I love it. That's super interesting. I appreciate you kind of sharing like, where your challenges are. It sounds like, kind of continue to get your name out there, right? Continuing to I'm assuming, you guys are in a place where funding is a big deal for you. So how are you approaching like the next year? Like what's something you want to be celebrating, within the next year?
Well, we've got a lot of fun challenges. Part of it is just making sure that the characters get out and run and perform the missions
Sure.
that they've been given. The other is to look around the corner about what sort of things that we can be doing in the future. I'll give you a little tip off on something that's in R&D right now. We're building a Mars base. And the Mars base has not just one character, but multiple characters that you can talk to. You can ask them to do things within the Mars base, and they can even talk to each other, which oddly enough is pretty entertaining. Once they start going back and forth, just talking amongst themselves, they go into some pretty wonderful places conversationally. So exactly how we're going to use those in products remains to be seen, but we do have people in advertising that want to have these multi-user game-like environments available for their advertisers to talk about products. So we'll see how it goes. We're really excited about that. And this is not a static space. It's moving very quickly, and the adoption of it has happened very quickly. So I think in 5 years, you're going to see talking characters everywhere. And I think it's going to be a wonderful thing.
I love it. Yeah. It's funny. Like I think about like myself interacting with AI for the first time. It'll be a little bit weird, right? As all things kind of are initially for the first time. But once I feel like my first experience, I guess, is with, either Siri or yeah, Alexa, and hopefully they're not listening, so you don't hear it in the background pop off. But
somebody recently asked me, why use avatars?
mm,
And I responded, can you imagine Disney putting a character out there that only spoke and you couldn't see it? Of course you want an avatar, entertaining people and also communicating. Somebody once said that 70% of all human communication is nonverbal. So we want to do a good job, not just by voice, but also in how the characters look and interact with people. It's important.
Yeah. Yeah, agreed. Yeah, I want to have something to interact with versus me just yelling at Alexa to turn the lights off. But this is like, Dave, this is actually extremely interesting to kind of sit down with you and talk about how you guys are, prioritizing, different industries, how you're addressing the needs and expectations of those customers and delivering upon that. And also, even thinking about the challenges that you're seeing in the space, but more importantly, like this is a human problem, right? And you want to prioritize us as humans as well, and like your responsibility and sustainability initiatives kind of sounds like are going along with that, and it's something that, like I'm really interested in following along with. Lastly, like David, you're an entrepreneur, right? You've had a really interesting background. Do you have any advice for any aspiring entrepreneurs or other individuals interested in entering like this AI or technology industry?
In order to go through all the struggles necessary to found a company, fund it, get your products out into the world, you have to really love what you do. So I think one of the most fundamental things is to figure out what makes you happy. Don't just come up with companies and concepts that are abstract and meaningless to you. Find things that really resonate with who you are and how you want to express yourself in a business fashion to the rest of the world. It's going to take that level of passion to make it successful.
Sure. Yep. I can definitely agree with that, right? Find your hobbies, see if you can turn those hobbies into passions and those passions into business. Kind of what I love to follow. As we wrap things up, David, anything else that you'd like to share? Anything else you think our listeners need to know about you or the company that we haven't covered? I'd love to give you the floor to talk about, where you're going to be. You just mentioned you're in Chicago. Where can people find you? And yeah, I'd love to kind of give you the floor to talk about all the, where people can get a hold of you and see you as well in the future.
Well, of course, I'm here at david@sapientx.com, and I do answer all of my emails. But I'm excited about something. One of our characters that's going into the USS Recruit in San Diego, a landlocked former Navy training ship, is being turned into a museum. So we've built Chief, a character that acts as a museum docent and tells you all about Navy history and all things Navy. And he talks like this in a gruff kind of training sergeant voice. And he says, I'm here to turn jelly into steel. Well, Chief is going live June 7th. So if you happen to be in the San Diego area, please come on over and talk to Chief. The mayor's going to be giving a speech, and so will Chief. So if you're there, I'll be there and hope to see you.
Can't wait to see Chief AI Drill Sergeant. Okay, that's a really, really fun. I'm sure it was a fun project to work on too.
Yeah, it's great, especially doing all the testing with the kids. It was too much fun. They had a lot of great ideas. They're awfully smart, and they told me to have Chief tell more dad jokes, so we did that.
There we go. I love it. I can't wait to check it out. And everyone in San Diego, yeah, if you're visiting, it's down Liberty Station, Point Loma, for everyone who's local here. So I appreciate you sharing that. David, thank you so much for being with us today. I really appreciate your time, and I've definitely enjoyed our conversation. I feel like I've learned a lot about you, about how you guys are approaching the market and how your technology is going to be affecting our lives here in the future. So I appreciate you sharing that with us.
Thanks, Max, for having me. It was a lot of fun. Take care, everyone.
Thanks, everyone. Yeah, thanks for listening. And that wraps up another episode of our Business Ninjas podcast. Thanks again, David from SapientX, for making this happen with us. And everyone have a great rest of the day.
I know.